Why do we become attached to people who hurt us, ignore us, or slowly drift away?
Okay, let's dive into this. In this explainer, we're completely leaving the clinical jargon at the door. You know, we aren't just looking at cold, boring facts. We're getting right into the raw, visceral experience of your nervous system. We're going to uncover exactly why you find yourself clinging so desperately to distant people, and why the very act of someone pulling away can make them feel absolutely impossible to let go of. You see, one of the absolute biggest misconceptions we have is that if a feeling is incredibly intense, well, it just must be love, right? But psychologically speaking, that visceral, gut-wrenching feeling of craving a distant person, it actually isn't love at all. It's a profound emotional dependency perfectly disguised as romance. When someone fills a deep void inside you or mirrors a familiar pain, your brain basically gets hijacked. Now, what's really interesting about this is that this specific state you're experiencing actually has a name. It's called limerence. And it's this obsessive, agonizing mental state that takes hold specifically when reciprocation is uncertain. Your mind just gets flooded with these intrusive thoughts. You begin to completely idealize the person who's actively drifting away from you. You see their flaws, sure, but you gloss over them or somehow even find them attractive. You aren't actually reacting to the real person anymore. You're reacting to your own idealized, perfect construction of them. Because look, there is a totally stark contrast between true love and emotional attachment. Love feels safe. It's calm, it's stable, and it fundamentally says, I choose you. Emotional attachment, on the other hand, it feels urgent. It literally feels like panic. It perfectly mirrors that familiar childhood pain of being left behind, and it desperately cries out, I need you. So one is a conscious choice made in complete security, while the other is an automatic reflex driven by an ancient, deep-seated fear. Section 1, the trap of inconsistency, and why distance is addictive. Let's explore the much darker psychology of modern relationships here and figure out why emotional distance and unavailability actually make someone dangerously addictive to our brains.
So it happens through a very specific cycle of emotional chasing. Step 1, the person pulls away, creating this sudden distance. Step 2, your nervous system panics, absolutely spiking your anxiety. Step 3, they finally send a text or give you a brief, fleeting moment of warmth, just a tiny breadcrumb of attention. And then step 4, you feel this overwhelming, massive rush of relief. But here's the real tragedy of it all. Your brain totally confuses the sudden relief of that anxiety with a genuine deep connection. You actually start bonding to the contrast of the pain and the relief rather than bonding to the actual human being.
And this brilliantly illustrates something called intermittent reinforcement in action. It's literally the exact same psychological mechanism behind gambling addiction. When affection is totally unpredictable, when someone is warm one moment and ice cold the next, your brain becomes completely hooked. It works exactly like a slot machine right inside your mind. Because you never know when that next reward is coming, you just obsessively pull the lever, waiting, hoping, and pouring all your energy into getting that winning payout of affection. Now, if you happen to have an anxious attachment style, your nervous system responds to this unpredictability in a very specific, intense way. It doesn't view a partner pulling away as a red flag telling you to leave. Nope. Instead, it detects their inconsistency as a massive, unresolved threat to your very survival. Your attachment system immediately activates, putting you on high alert. And ironically, the uncertainty itself causes your dopamine levels to spike. It basically demands immediate obsessive attention to solve the problem and restore your feeling of safety. And as this painful cycle repeats, you fall right into the sunk cost effect. You start rationalizing the sheer exhaustion of it all. You think to yourself, man, I've already invested so much time, so much emotional energy into this, I can't just walk away now. But here's the catch. The more effort you pour into trying to understand and win over a distant person, the harder your brain fights against letting them go. The investment itself literally becomes the cage, keeping you trapped. Section 2, addicted to earning it, the subconscious core wound. We really have to look deeper here. We need to shift the narrative to the terrifying, quiet belief that's actually driving all of this. The deeply held belief that you are simply not enough exactly as you are. As relationship expert Tice Gibson points out so powerfully, it's not love they're addicted to, it's the feeling of finally earning it. Just let that sink in for a second. Staying in these exhausting, completely draining relationship loops isn't about some fiery romantic passion. It is a desperate, relentless pursuit to finally earn a sense of worthiness from someone who flat out refuses to give it freely. So the crucial point is that this behavior stems directly from our childhood conditioning. If you grew up in an environment where affection was directly tied to what you achieved or how perfectly you behaved, you inevitably develop the tragic illusion that love is entirely conditional. You learn to overfunction. You take the entire emotional burden of the relationship completely onto your own shoulders, falsely believing that your constant patience and self-sacrifice will eventually convince them to choose you. Ultimately, you equate their rejection with a lack of your own personal value.
Over time, the entire dynamic just completely shifts. Getting attention from this distant person is no longer about enjoying genuine communication or actually building a life together. Nope. It has become a symbolic, deeply psychological test of your own value, right? If they reply to your text, boom, you are worthy. If they ignore you, you feel completely worthless. You see, you're no longer pursuing a partner at this point. You are literally begging a mirror to tell you that you matter.
And your own biology traps you right in this pursuit. As biological anthropologist Helen Fisher notes, as the adored one slips away, the very chemicals that contribute to feelings of romance grow even more potent. This is called frustration attraction. It's wild, but the rejection itself triggers the exact same dopaminergic reward pathways in your brain that drive chemical addiction. So paradoxically, the more they reject you, the more your brain chemically attaches to them. It's a biological trap.
Section 3. Waking up from hope and breaking the loop. So how do we stop this descent? How do you actually break free from an agonizing psychological loop that feels like it's literally hardwired into your very survival? Well, it all starts with waking up from the illusion.
Let's move to and see how this builds. We need to completely reframe this entire obsession. When you feel that incredibly intense, irresistible pull towards someone who is clearly emotionally unavailable, you're usually not connecting to the actual person sitting in front of you. You are recognizing a familiar pattern. Your brain lights up and says, "Oh, this feels like home." But here's the hard truth. Home wasn't safe. You are simply clinging to a familiar pattern of unresolved pain, desperately hoping that this time, somehow, you can rewrite the ending.
To truly break the cycle, you have to intentionally, actively build healthy emotional boundaries. Step 1. Notice the anxiety in your body when they pull away, but do absolutely nothing. Do not act on it. Step 2, stop chasing the reward. You have to refuse to play the slot machine altogether. And step 3, learn to actively choose boring, safe consistency over thrilling, destructive intensity. You essentially have to learn to sit with your own uncomfortable feelings rather than impulsively chasing the person who is walking away from you. Because, when you finally strip away the dopamine, the anxiety, and those deep childhood wounds, you are left with a very quiet, melancholic realization about the true nature of this unrequited attachment. Sometimes, we don't fall in love with people. We fall in love with the hope that they might finally choose us.